Hello and welcome to the Serpent Temple podcast. We have entered the gaping hole of 2022 and we are here with some releases. But first, Floyd, my co-host, how are you? Happy New Year.
I'm good. Happy New Year. It's been a pretty mental couple of weeks, but it's good. I'm personally quite optimistic about 2022.
Me too.
I think it might be a good year. And also, on the 2nd of January 2022 is on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the most twos ever in the history of
Oh my goodness.
calendars.
So much twos. And if you did a number 2 on that day, you added a 2 to it.
So everybody remember to take a shit on Tuesday, the 2nd of February.
And there's a 2 in the word Tuesday if you say it in that way.
Exactly. There you
So
go.
many twos. All right. Well, let's get on to what we're actually reviewing today. So we're going to be doing 3 albums, as usual. They're all 2021 albums because there's not been enough time in 2022 to really have done any albums yet. We've got LLNN, Unmaker, Archspire, Bleed the Future, and Malignant Altar, Realms of Exquisite Morbidity. So what did you think of the Malignant Altar? This was your suggestion.
It was. This was a Johnny Come Lately album. So this was dropped, I want to say December 10th.
It was indeed.
Was it actually December 10th?
Yes.
There you go. And it kind of took me a bit by surprise because it's OSDM is one of those things that have had a bit of a revival recently. And I think because it's kind of like the current trend in the scene, there is a lot of bands that kind of go under the radar because it's, it is the in thing at the moment. But I actually think easy for me to say. There we go. What a way to start 2022. What Malignant Altar have done is create something that still sounds quite fresh, even though it's very clearly influenced by sort of like the bands of yore. Like this got a heavy Morbid Angel influence on this album. It's like a more like kind of like old school production, like almost like old school incantation style mixed with Morbid Angel. But I really, really dig it. I mean, I'm a massive death metal fan. So this is a little bit of me, this album. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely sick. As always, we always review sick albums on this podcast. I thought it was interesting too. I like the OSDM vibe, but it was still interesting because sometimes I feel like people play it a bit safe.
Yeah.
And then you kind of end up blanking out when you're listening to the music and you're aware you're listening to OSDM and you come away with the awareness you've listened to it, but I can't pick out anything I've actually listened to. It's kind of like a chunk of time has just been named thus. Yeah. I really liked the names of the songs. Channeling Impure Apparitions, CIA for sure. I just like the very death metal namings. My favorite part of the album is kind of more a lore thing, as a reference to the Krasue.
Yeah, I made a note about this because I thought this was actually pretty cool and quite creepy, actually.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Do you wanna?
Well, after some extensive research, Wikipedia,
Same.
I found out that the Krasue
Yeah.
is a nocturnal female spirit which takes.
I nearly said croissant. You were like, croissant.
You saw that Vine, the one where it's like, it made me drop my croissant. I miss Vine.
You remind me of someone, at school when you got to read from the book and you're reading a book with like foreign words and people like just completely don't know how to say the word. And you're like trying to enter into the realm of the I don't know how to say it, the Krasue. The Krasue.
It was, do you know what? That was just the worst part of school for me because you know me, it's like a horrific combination because I mispronounce so much.
You do, it's
but I
beautiful.
also fucking find it so hilarious when other people do it, including myself. So whenever it came to my turn to read in English, it was just the worst thing imaginable. Amount of times I was just being this delirious, like laughing fit. And it was, what was it? We were reading Wuthering Heights once. My friend Chris messed up a word. And I just started pissing myself laughing. I had to leave the lesson. Like I just left. Like the teacher just kicked me out.
Oh my God.
This is A-levels. Like this is when you're an adult. I was just like, Floyd, just piss off. Like just don't come back today. Because like I was just that. Found it so hilarious that you fucked up one word. Yeah.
My version of that was because I was like the only foreign person in class. Every time there was a foreign word in a book, the teacher would look at me and be like, Nina, how do you pronounce this word?
Oh, for God's sake.
We were doing the Kite Runner, which I think is set in like Afghanistan or Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I'm Iranian, but the teacher would be like, so Nina, what's a salwar kameez? Do you wear those at home where you're from? And he'd just make me read everything in italics. He'd be like, and I'd be like, okay, it's just the words, but yes, here you go. Yeah.
It's fun times. School, eh?
School A, it's fine, but I don't know how to pronounce Kresu, so
But Kresu, if we're going with that pronunciation, is a nocturnal female spirit who takes the form of a young and beautiful woman with her organs trailing below her neck.
her internal organs specifically.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. There's loads of different like variants of why someone becomes a Kresu in the folklore. So like in some places it's if you've had an abortion, if you've been like if you've cheated on your husband, or if your relatives practice witchcraft, then the witch's relatives can become Kresu. And yeah, like apparently in the day they hide the head that makes like the internal organ hanging head. It's just like below the neck is like the vertebrae of the spine, and then just bits of hanging organs, which is kind of crazy if you think about it.
It's a bit like Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. You ever watched?
I have watched Watchmen, but I don't remember enough of Watchmen to remember what I watched.
Well, when he's like, because he's like ripped apart in like a nuclear, it's like a particle.
Is he the blue guy?
It's like nuclear physics, yeah.
I like the blue guy.
His atoms are completely disassembled, and then he puts himself back together.
There's like a crazy sex scene with him, isn't there?
Yeah, where he like duplicates himself.
Multiple, yeah. That's pretty intense. And I like the bit on the moon where he's all like, "I'm done with this."
Yeah, I'm done with Earth. I'm going to the moon.
I would love to do that. I would be the blue guy. Yeah. Anyway, so the Kresu is cool. If you're a bad woman, then you turn into a Kresu apparently, which is totally not misogynistic at all. But apparently, like the Kresu will hide the night body of the neck with the dangling organs in the day, and if you smash the head, the Kresu dies. But in the day, they look like a normal person, albeit slightly sleepy.
Yeah.
So if you see anyone looking sleepy,
yeah,
they might be a Kresu.
So
Just all of us right now.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't narrow it down, does it?
It does not in this day and age, no.
This track as well was a really good track. This track actually reminded me a bit of Boat Thrower.
Oh.
A bit of like that mid-pace kind of groovy Boat Thrower vibe. So it was,
Nice.
yeah, that's the thing. That's what I like about this album as well. Like, because like a lot of OSDM, especially the revivalist bands, tend to be quite monotone. A lot of the albums are very much one gear and one sound, but there's a fair amount of variation in this album.
Yeah.
Within this particular sort of genre. And there's like, for example, this track was a bit more Boat Thrower-esque, and they've got some tracks that are some riffs that are a bit more slammy, and like, you know, just a lot of variation. Like, and you could hear the Morbid Angel influence, who I think are a band who I would say are on par with bands like Death, and I suppose to a lesser extent for me, Cannibal Corpse, in terms of their influence on the scene.
I never got into Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're like your meat and potatoes death metal band.
I'm more into like spicy food, like not like spicy in the terms of like chili. I like seasoned food, whereas meat and potatoes is not quite my fare.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse is a bland roast dinner, which is fine.
It does the job, but I like luxury when it comes to.
I really like Cannibal Corpse. Shem is looking absolutely dismayed, but I do really like Cannibal Corpse because they. Like, you know, I don't think they get enough credit because they've become so popular that people started to turn on them a little bit.
They had one song, was it Gallery of something?
Suicide.
That was an okay song. I listened to that when I was a teenager and I thought it was catchy, groovy.
They're still good now. That's the thing. They've actually, like, their newer albums, like, have gotten progressively, like, more technical and more varied.
Okay. So they kind of matured a bit.
Yeah, well, like, there's, like, two eras, because you've got the Chris Barnes and the Corpse Grinder era, which is how people tend to divvy it up with the change of vocalists. Like, the first couple of Chris Barnes albums are seen as being, like, super influential to, like, the early iterations of brutal death metal. But then, like, Corpse Grinder came in and just done a lot of really good, really quite underrated, like, solid death metal albums.
Nice.
Like, Bloodthirst is a great Cannibal Corpse album that a lot of people don't talk about. And that's, like, one of their, like, most revered ones within, like, the Cannibal Corpse fans.
I think it's just the violent stuff that put me off, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I can see, it would, but I don't disrespect them as a band. I'm sure the music is actually like really good. I might dive back into them and see what the newer stuff is like.
Some of it's pretty good.
If they've grown, yeah.
But that's what I like about Malignant Altar. They've done a good job of kind of like meshing and combining a few different elements. And one of the things that really strikes me about this album that I really enjoyed is the production, particularly the drum production.
Oh, I noted this.
The
Yeah.
drums on this album sound great, and it's no surprise that the mixing was actually done by the drummer, whose name
That
is
explains a lot. Yeah.
Dobber.
They
Dobber
have
Beverly.
great names. There's like Bo Beasley, Josh Bokemeyer, Wilson Previtt. I don't know. All these names are like wizard names or something. Dobber Beverly.
And so, and they're also from Houston, Texas, which is quite. They've got. There's a lot of good bands from Texas.
There is, yeah.
Like you could, there's sometimes, like I was saying before, how some of the riffs are kind of slammy, and it reminded me of their state mates Devourment, who are also from Texas.
I've noted that Matt Elman on bass and the drummer Dobber Beverly, they both are in Oceans of Slumber, and also Necrofire.
Oceans of Slumber.
Wait, let me double check. Yeah, it says on my notes that they're in Oceans of Slumber.
I'm trying to think of Oceans of Slumber as the band I'm thinking of. Is that the one that has Cammy on vocals? Yeah, okay, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's...
Cammy's husband.
You shitting me?
No.
There you go.
That's very cool.
I saw Oceans of Slumber live once at Damnation. They were really, really good. Yeah, because they were on a package tour with Enslaved and Nea Bliviscaris.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw a band called Through the Gates of Slumber once, which is what I thought this band was, and they were one of the most boring bands.
Sorry, Through the Gates of Slumber.
I don't think they're listening. Maybe it was just a bad day. Like, I think they supported Cathedral. Yeah,
Oh.
they supported Cathedral.
Was Lee Dorian still in Cathedral at the time? Is he still in Cathedral? Are they
I
still
think
going?
he is. Yeah.
Are they-
Did they? On his Facebook.
I don't know.
On his Facebook, it says he's in Cathedral. So I don't know. Maybe they're just like chilling on the royalties or something.
Oh. But yeah, the drum production on this album is astonishing. And like the actual performance of the drums as well is just fucking does such a good job of just tying the rhythm together and just keeping the groove in the pocket. And it's just super, super like impressive because that's another thing about OSDM that kind of is a bit, and even like the older like Morrisound albums from like the early 90s, a lot of things get lost in the mix, particularly either the bass or the drums, and the drums could sound just kind of flat or tinny and they're not punchy, but on here they're like super impactful, and I think it really, really helps elevate the album because it just makes the riffs sound so much more crisp and allows you to be able to kind of differentiate where the transitions are and stuff, because sometimes when the drums are just kind of a bit of when they're just a bit muddy and kind of meshed in with the riffs, it kind of doesn't help you kind of get the groove of the track sometimes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I wrote down on my favorite track, which is Belial Rebirth Metempsychosis. My apologies in parenthesis afterwards. The drums are Floyd's phone is Floyd's
I was
phone
like,
is
let
just
me
having
mute
a
that.
moment.
Let me mute my phone quietly so no one else notices. That makes a really loud noise.
It's just having a real like orgasmic moment over there in the corner. It's like it's completely going for it. Nice. Anyway, my favorite track, Belial Rebirth, Metempsychosis. I think that's my favorite, and the drums are the best thing about it, in my opinion, and like one of the best things in the album. The snare work is really interesting. I also wrote I can't do it like Can you say that?
No.
That's what I wrote about this track and the album in particular. I think that's like the word that best describes this entire band and album. And like I like that they do tempo changes. There's like one halfway through this track, it's like really brutal. But then I like the juxtaposition that they have a sparkly cassette tape shell.
Yeah.
Or if you want to buy the album. And I love sparkly things, and I just really like that there are death metal bands doing that. So yeah. 10 out of 10.
No, I echo everything you're saying. My favourite track is probably the one after that one, which was Ceremonial Decapitator, which was really cool. And for the same reasons, actually, I think the drums were just firing on all cylinders on that track. And just, like I said, some interesting cymbals, snare, crash work, some great work with the toms. Vocals are quite good as well. I like that sort of classic vocal performance. It's very, it's very Polish.
Okay.
Very reminds me of like Peter from Vader.
Is that where they're from?
No, they're from Houston, Texas.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah.
You did say that. There's something I was
But
just confused.
it's like a really kind of like a really simplistic but like throaty, aggressive vocal style. With
Yeah.
it's not trying to be like uber guttural, which sometimes loses a lot of the aggression. But it's like, and there's another great Polish band called Lost Soul. You've ever listened to them? Like a technical death metal band from Poland who are like really underlooked and underrated. And their vocalist, so Jacek, has a similar vocal style, which I'm sure he was influenced by Peter, because like from Vader, who are like one of the early sort of death metal bands in general. I mean, the first to kind of pioneer that death thrash kind of hybrid sound. But yeah, and just the riffs are great. I mean, this album wouldn't work if it wasn't for the fact that the guitarists have done a great job in creating some memorable riffs, because it's really easy to write a boring and forgettable death metal album, I think, because there's so many of them out there. But like, and this isn't one of them. And it's, to drop an album so late in the game, and they seem to be making some waves with it. So good for them.
It's a great album. They're also label mates with Blood Incantation. They're on Dark Descent Records.
Oh, no way, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think that's a good pairing on the roster there.
That'd be a good like package tour to go to. Like, I'd love to see, because there's times when I listen to this album thinking like, fuck, this would sound amazing live.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
I'd lose my shit to this. And I've not seen Blood Incantation live either. I think I was going to see them live at Damnation before all the American bands had to cancel.
Yeah, they have great logos as well.
Yeah, the Blood Incantation album logo is ridiculous. And it's funny because this year, I think before the lineup changes, you had Blood Incantation on the Damnation lineup. Incantation. So all you needed was blood to the gore grind bands to complete it.
Nice. So, any final words on Malignant Altar's Realms of Exquisite Morbidity?
No, just very good. I think I'm always impressed when, like I said before, when I hear a death metal album that manages to capture my what's the word I'm looking for? My wearied attention, because I'm just kind of spent so much time listening to death metal that it takes a lot to kind of grab me now. And it's like even the band Shem recommended, A Dream Unending. What a good album that was as well. Like, fucking hell. And it's, so it's very rare that an album comes along that grabs enough of my attention for me to actually bother to, listen to it more than once. Because there's just so much death metal out there.
It's true. It's very, very true. So shall we move on to Archspire's
Yes.
Bleed the Future? I've already kind of waxed a little bit lyrical about this album on the end of year list, because it made my end of year list. What did you think of it?
Well, do you know what? I was late to the party on this album because I am quite a big Archspire fan. Because I have said numerous times in this podcast before, and much for the same reasons why I find a lot of OSDM quite derivative. I find a lot of technical death metal quite derivative, because a lot of it comes across really soulless and kind of show-offy. But like, Archspire have never been one of those bands. One of my favorite things about the band is Ollie's vocals. I love his rapid fire, almost like rap style growling.
I literally wrote this. His enunciation is insane.
And he could do it live. That's the crazy thing. Like, he could
so
legit
cool.
perform it as he performs it on record.
It's so fast.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of heavy because he's like spitting it out, and there's this like malice there.
Yeah. And like, he obviously thinks about the phrasing as well. Because like, it's quite staccato, and a lot of times it will match the guitar work.
Yes.
And it's not like...
It's rhythmic.
There's another band that kind of, I think, were the first to kind of pioneer this style, which was Origin.
Okay, yeah, I see
And
that.
they had an album in particular, Informis, Infinitas, Inhumanitas. So I could pronounce that fine. But that album had a similar thing with the vocals. And it was cool because you had the main vocalist and the guitarist and the bassist were doing backing vocals. And it was just like, it was nowhere near as rhythmic as all these vocals, but it was that same super rapid fire, super technical. And it was just really aggressive and heavy. Whereas like sometimes tech death is just a bit sterile. But not this album. I mean, every member of this band is firing on all cylinders. Like Dean Lamb and Toby Morelli, the guitarists, are just absolutely out of this world. Spencer is a great drummer. Like the drum, like his control on the double bass work is just next level. Like the way he can like fire such short, succinct blasts in such amongst all the chaos is just unreal.
It's incredibly well put together. Like, there are so many moving parts.
Yeah.
It literally feels like an industrial machine, but like a very Mozart-y one. It's just beautifully, beautifully put together.
It's funny you mentioned Mozart, because there's one track, I think, which track was it?
There's a lot of Mozart influence on this album, I would argue.
Yeah, because it was Reverie on the Onyx, and there was a track which sounded like an actual piece of classical music.
I think it might. Well, Reverie is a classical structured piece.
But it really rang a bell with me, and I was going to ask you because I know you're somewhat well versed in classical music, but it.
Host Planets, isn't it?
I don't think Host Planets is in this one. It's usually Host Planets is usually a good guess because almost everyone who cites classical music in metal, it's usually going to be Host Planets.
Yeah.
I know Necrophagists do. I think Beethoven. Do 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 do. I can't fucking do it. I'm out of tune. But they do that in I can't remember what it's called. Ignominious something or other. On the album that track is on, they do that. The first time I heard that, I was like, wow, metal can be schoolwork too.
But it's cool because I feel like Archspire, they've obviously got, like they're great at like doing the neoclassical and all the sweeping stuff, but without it being like coming across as too much as guitar wankery.
Yeah.
Like it fits with the structure of the song. And I'll say as well, like, I've mentioned every member of the band apart from the bassist. Like I think Jared Smith, who played bass on this album, done a fantastic job. And there's a cool new trend that I felt like kind of started with fellow Canadian bands, like Beyond Creation, for example, started creating albums where the bass was like really audible. I mean that's always been a thing. Like Atheist, for example, always had quite audible bass, but like there was a period of time where like modern death metal seemed to fall into the same trope of a lot of other metal subgenres where like the bass is just barely audible. Yeah. But like Beyond Creation and those sort of bands that have come out sort of semi-recently have done a great job of bringing the bass to the forefront and making sure that it's still serving its purpose as it's like a timekeeper of the rhythm. But at the same time, it's given its own chance to shine. And there's some absolutely fantastic bass lines in this album.
I would totally agree with you about the bass. I think it's actually like really underrated. Shem is browsing basses on his phone, and like I'm gonna have to. Please don't buy another bass. The guitar. Oh God. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Sorry, I had a moment. I had a moment of extreme horror. Bass, I think, is so underrated. When it comes to like the mixing of albums, like Coroner as well. They're really the bass is at the forefront. When I saw them live, the bass was so loud, and it was beautifully like it worked for the bass to be at the like quite near the front of the music. And I think that's where I usually like get bored listening to some modern OSDM is that it's like really fuzzy, and I don't know if that's like influence from like some black metal stuff as well, where the production is quite like fuzzed out almost. I don't know.
Like I don't know. I feel like sometimes as well there's a lot of bands where like the bass is treated as a secondary instrument in the sense that a lot of times the vocalist will also be the bassist. Yeah. So it's just like, well, it'd be like the guy will be doing vocals. I'll do vocals and bass because I don't need to do much while doing bass. And a lot of times you see them, they're just playing sort of like open hands kind of notes and not even really doing much. But but I feel like that's becoming a thing of the past now. Because obviously Glenn Benton from Deicide is probably the only example I could think of at the top of my mind, someone who plays bass while also trying to juggle vocals.
Peter Steele, but he doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it, but I don't think he's doing much anymore these days. Wow. But it's...
Sorry, Peter.
But no, I've always been amazed by anybody that can juggle vocals and another instrument at the same time.
I can't do it. I tried.
Like even drums as well, like the guy from that band Mantar.
Yeah.
Like the dude who fucking does vocals and drums at the same time. That's crazy to me.
My mates in Morag Tong do it as well, and it blows my mind. And he's
cool.
just screaming and playing drums at the same time, and it's actually really cool because it adds to like the aggression of the vocals as well.
Yeah, because the guy from Brand from Mastodon has become like quite a prominent vocalist in the band now as well, right? So it's like all four of them are doing vocals, like and have like significant segments of just them singing, which is just super impressive.
It is really impressive.
I'm just impressed by every musician, though, to be honest.
Being a musician's hard.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not even the instrument bit. It's just hard to be a musician because, fuck me. But yeah, we're all musicians here. Like, we can say that.
Yeah, well, technically I can because I was given a kalimba as a Christmas present, and I've been practicing songs on my kalimba.
You're really good at it. It's a really nice kalimba.
Yeah, no, it's got a really nice sound though. You've heard it, right?
We should give you a guest spot on the Lowen album.
Yeah, it's we could do a cover of that Minecraft song. It sounds exactly like the Minecraft soundtrack. But it's it's actually really fun. It's really therapeutic because it's like because you use your thumbs, so it's a bit like playing a video game almost.
Oh,
so it's a bit like rhythm action game, but like in real life.
You know what? When we finish this, I'm going to bring my Shruti box down and you can have a go on that.
Oh,
Because
I'd
you'll
love to.
love it. I think
Oh,
you'd
that
really
sounds
like
super
it.
fun. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah. I don't want too many people to know about it though, because everyone's going to have one. If yeah, it's my secret sauce.
Back to Archspire. So, just the Canadian scene in general is so good. I mean, this band's from Vancouver, British Columbia, and I know Canada's a massive, massive continent in itself.
But they got a lot of good bands.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many influential bands like Gorguts, for example.
Luke
like
LeMay.
Cryptopsy. And this album as well, I just want to say quickly, was produced by Dave Otero, who has done a lot of work for a lot of extreme / death metal bands over the years, particularly Cattle Decapitation, Cephalic Carnage, and I will say that the production on this album is pretty top notch. Like, it's always impressive when you can hear things so clearly on an album with so much going on.
It's crisp.
Sorry?
It's crisp, the production.
Yeah.
I love crisp production.
Yeah, so good. Crisp, but not too synthetic.
Yeah, it's distorted, but you can still hear the details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple tracks on this album that really stood out to me. One thing that's cool, have you seen the music video to the first track, Drone Corpse Aviator?
I have not.
It's really cool. It's basically all the band members are kind of like strapped in and being experimented on while playing their instruments. And it ends with all of them like with their heads exploding and
Sick.
bits. And it's cool. I think they've used like some form of, I don't know if it's claymation maybe, but it looks like practical effects. It doesn't look like digital effects to do like all the gore. And it's not like too super gory, It's
like old stuff. There's like, the end of the Star Trek season 1 TNG.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't, but they're like everyone's brains in the Starfleet like headquarters get eaten by these parasites, and like right at the end there's this dude sitting in a chair. I think it's in the Malcolm in the Middle intro as well, so everyone's probably seen it. It's this iconic bit, and it's like really, really bad practical effects, but the dude's head just explodes.
Damn.
And it's really like brutal. It's
So
like Star Trek.
Like Scanners.
No, it's in Star Trek.
It's from Star Trek. Oh.
Yeah.
So would they have shown that on like BBC Two at like 7 p.m. when it aired?
Probably.
Damn.
I don't know, but yeah, it's like really brutal, because I remember like I've seen not many people have seen season 1 of Next Generation.
Yeah.
Because it's like the worst season by a long. It's so bad. But yeah, I rewatched it. I think like nowadays people who like want to rewatch the whole thing in order, rewatching is just so awful. It's really terribly done. I love that.
I really need to jump on to Star Trek and just get my knowledge up a little bit, because I'm still such a noob when it comes to any of the lore around it.
There's a lot of lore, to be fair. It's a whole commitment.
And
Yeah.
the new show's good, right? I've asked you
The
this
new
before,
show is
but
good.
it's-
Yeah, a lot of people think it's too emotional.
Yeah.
And they're usually people who don't cry. And like, yeah.
Incels.
Basically.
Phil Anselmo's.
I was talking to someone the other day, and like, yeah, it was where I work, so I had to be very polite to them. I was like, oh, so you like Star Trek? They had like a Star Trek badge, and they were like really sweet, really nice. And I was like, oh, so what's your favorite series? Because that's the question you ask every Star Trek fan, and you know the kind of fan they are based on the series they like. And he was like, I think he said Next Generation. I was like, oh, okay, I'm Deep Space Nine. Oh my god, it's like Hogwarts houses. I'm one of those people.
Oh god. It's like when you ask someone, hey, what's your favorite Tolkien franchise? And someone says The Hobbit. And
Yeah,
like,
that's they're the worst kind of person in the world. I'm sorry. We're only joshing. It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, Deep Space Nine was quite good though, right? I felt like that was quite well
love it.
received.
I think
My dad liked Deep Space Nine.
It's amazing because it's like one of the most. It was like very progressive. They have like there's like a black single father trying to run a space station that's also been occupied by like a colonial species that's like also oppressed the planet underneath the space station. It used to be like a prison station. So there's like loads of like definitely some like Israel Palestine stuff going on, and then there's like the racial element which they do explore, and then there's like basically Picard killed Sisko, who's the captain's wife, when he was Locutus of Borg. So there's this like horrible tension with the captain who's been idolized in the previous series.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, there's like a lot of stuff to explore there.
Sounds cool. I'll get into it at some point.
It's got one of the best series arcs in any Star Trek series, because there's like a whole other there's a major plot that comes through with the founders, which is amazing. And I don't want to spoil it.
That's cool. I'll jump on it at some point, I think.
Go for
I'll
it.
finish all the Star Wars films first.
Good luck.
I haven't seen any Star Wars films. No, that's a lie. I've seen the what's the first of the newest ones?
Oh god, The Force Awakens.
Yes.
It's actually quite pretty. I think they're like the Hobbits of the Star Wars films.
What, the best ones?
Yeah, absolutely. Totes. I don't even know what I was saying. You know, I really like the beginning of AUM, Aperion Universal Migration, where it's that guy on the phone and he's like calling up the band.
Oh.
It's really funny. He's like, "Bring back the fucking danger in music," and then like it's like really
That's
goofy.
great. Yeah.
It's
Have
so
you looked
funny.
into like what AUM is or what it stands for?
What does it stand for?
So I only found this out when I was researching this album. So basically, across the 3 Archspire albums, they've got like kind of a lot of continuity with the lyrical themes, and it's quite conceptual.
Cool.
Like AUM is like this kind of like either this deity or this cult that's running like human experiments and stuff.
Ooh.
And there's been a lot of references throughout all the Archspire albums, and I've never really delved too much into the lyrics, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and listen to some of the older albums and see what it's all about. But it's quite cool actually. But they seem to like they must all be like fans of like sci-fi and stuff,
Yeah, I dig
and
that.
like put these things into the lyrical themes to give people something to think about.
My favorite lyric was in the Golden Mouth of Ruin.
That's my favorite track on the album.
It's a great track. I love the name of it. It's a beautiful name. It fits in your mouth like a good. Okay, that sounds weird. Please take that out.
Sorry.
Please take that out of the podcast. I didn't. I just wish I never said that.
It's at this part of the show that I wish we had like sound effects.
Boo. You said something dumb. That was me. Yeah. So, Golden Mouth of Ruin, which I'll never say again after this point. Here are the lyrics. I just liked the imagery. That's very A-level English of me, but I liked it. It goes like thus. Biting its own fleeing tongue to fill its mouth with a pool of living gold, the pond of glowing alloy that you look into will now begin to cast your new life. Disintegrate the carotid barrel in our ever-grinding wheel of meat we were forced to ingest.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's not bad,
Can you
eh?
imagine trying to growl that at 200 miles per hour?
I can't imagine that. It's amazing. You know, his vocals also remind me of Death Clock.
Death Clock. Gee, I've never listened to Death Clock.
It's actually really like Brendan Small is kind of a low-key genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to it out of protest because
Really?
I think it came out during that time where I thought that I took everything so seriously in the scene.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, this is making fun of death metal. This is death metal, but not serious. I'm not listening to this.
The cartoons can be a bit goofy, but there are some legit good gags
Yeah.
in it, and the music is actually not bad. I will give it that.
I have heard the song because there was that video that went viral about the death metal Batman. Did you see it? Where someone's like done like this animation of Batman, and it's really strange. I'll show it to you, but it's like really goofy animation. But they've like basically, because obviously the lyrics are somewhat unintelligible, they managed to adapt and change the lyrics
okay.
to suit to make it seem like it's about Batman.
I like that.
And
the
there's like
pug
3
that
of them.
sings.
There's like the murder is one of the tracks. Mermaider. Yeah.
It's Mermaider, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's about
It's one of the
murdering
ones that they've
mermaids.
converted to this Batman animation.
Nice.
But it's quite cool actually. It's funny,
It's funny when you're a teenager for sure.
Yeah.
There's some dumb, funny moments.
But I've heard good things about the show though. Like I have, and I know that I think Corpse Grinder's done some guest.
Matt Pike has as well.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
I can't remember which interview it was, but I was watching an interview of Corpse Grinder once, and he said that when he was doing some guest voiceover work for the show, it was in the same studio where Mark Hamill was. And the thing about Corpse Grinder is he's such a wholesome person. He's such like a big nerd. Like he goes to there's that video of him going to Walmart where he just buys like a shit ton of Lego and stuff.
Yeah.
And he loves Disney. Like he loves taking his kids to Disneyland and stuff.
Aw.
But and yeah, just hearing him like completely like mark out for Mark Hamill, no pun intended, was just like pretty wholesome.
That is really sweet. I think it's really cool when adults like unapologetically like things that are deemed childish.
Yeah.
I think, it's cool that they have the courage to do that. So good on them. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's like the other day, speaking of acting childish as an adult, the other day there was a ladybird
Uh-oh.
at work, and I was panicking. Sweating.
Aw. There was a really cute kid on the train the other day, and she was adorable, but she had a ladybird bag, and I thought of you because it was really cute. But I was like, oh no, what would Floyd be scared of the ladybird bag?
But this is the thing, people this is what the mistake everyone always makes. Like, just because I'm scared of ladybirds doesn't mean I'm scared of any ladybird imagery. Like,
Okay.
people have said to me that there'll be like a cute, like, anime, like a cartoon of a ladybird.
A Pixar ladybird. With a
Yeah,
big
there'll be
bum.
like the one from A Bug's Life. It was like, oh, did that scare you? I was like, no, because it doesn't look like a ladybird. It's like an anthropomorphic ladybird. No, I mean, like a realistic anthropomorphic ladybird would be terrifying. But like, it's the actual insect itself that I hate.
You just like, you see a real ladybird and it just looks at you with like anime eyes.
Oh God, that'd be that's weird.
That's genuinely scary. Should we move on to LLNN?
Yes, let's. But yeah, Archspire, what a fantastic album.
10 out of 10, mate.
Great, love it.
Love it.
Death metal scene is alive and thriving.
Absolutely. Just really enjoyed that album. I've been listening to it multiple times, which I rarely do these days. I usually listen to the same things. And this year, doing Serpent Temple stuff has actually made me a little bit more open-minded. So I like that.
Ah, that's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
One cool fact quickly about Archspire, which I only found out recently, was they used to be called defenestrated.
That's when you throw someone out a window.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard that word was on the Cryptopsy album. I forgot the name of it. Fuck.
Defenestration.
It's not like I've listened to this album 100 times. Imagine if it was called
This
that.
is when you forgot about artificial brain, isn't
So
it?
none so vile, whisper supremacy. It's not and then you'll beg. It's literally the only one. Blasphemy Made Flesh
There you go.
is the album. It's the opening track on the album. And I was like, oh, defenestration. What does that mean? But then it makes sense because Lord Worm, the vocalist, was an English teacher. So, but yeah, and I'm thinking, in my head, I was thinking, oh, they call themselves defenestrate. I wonder if it was because they were Cryptopsy fans, because they're also from Canada. And yeah, but I thought it was just a cool fact that I didn't know before. So
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that they were called that. Interesting. So here's a band with a funny name, LLNN. Apparently it stands for Lonely Loins Need Nature.
Lonely Loins Need Nature. That was actually my Tinder profile bio at some point.
Did it work out for you?
No.
Oh dear. Yeah, this is actually really good. I describe this as a chill frontierer, but that's not to say it's not horrifically heavy in the best way possible. I love it. It's the bass effects on this album are so juicy. I love them. It's a really good band.
This is great. Last time I went to Roadburn, which was the last time Roadburn was held, which would have been 2019. I saw Sumac play live.
Nice.
And they had probably the heaviest live tone I'd ever heard. Like, it was ridiculous. And I would say that there's certain points on this album that I would say it actually comes close to kind of close to that sound and just how oppressively heavy the guitars were during that live set.
Amazing.
And there's certain points in this album, and there's some of the riffs are so fucking good.
Yes.
Like, there's one track that I just have to just mention right off the bat. It was Forger, which starts with a really cool intro with like the sound of like, I'm guessing like a hammer and an anvil or something. And it's got like a really brutal like proto metalcore style breakdown. It's just super, super heavy. And I just love, I've always been a big fan of when like post-metal soundscapes are combined with that kind of hardcore aesthetic and aggression. And this band does it really, really well.
Agreed. Apparently they were really inspired by soundtracks and soundtrack composers. And they actually attracted the attention of, I've completely forgotten to note down his name, but a famous soundtrack
Oh, no way.
guy, yeah.
The craziest thing was, I did not know that, but on one of the tracks, Scion, I wrote, this would sound amazing as part of the Dune soundtrack.
That's really funny. Yeah, the composer that they drew the attention of was Peter Albrechtsson, who did movies Dunkirk, Antichrist, Gold, the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh, cool.
So it's really cool that he's a fan of this band as well. Like they've attracted that kind of person, and they've said they've been inspired by like Kubrick, which is, you can definitely hear that. I'd say in like the bleakness of the music, John Carpenter, Vangelis, Brad Fiedel, and games Silent Hill, Dead Space, Halo, and Limbo.
Yeah, I mean, Dead Space is that makes perfect sense to me because that game is like the closest thing to capturing like the horror of like The Thing and that weird kind of like that cosmic sort of alien horror.
It's so good.
It's genuinely terrifying. Like, I didn't play it. I watched my partner play. I watched Amy play it, and I was just like, this is like watching like Alien for the first time. Because like a scene at the beginning before you see like the creature, it was not a xenomorph. They had a name, but I can't remember the name of them. Necromorph. Thank you. Well
That's
remembered.
not derivative.
Yeah, sorry.
That's not derivative.
Yeah. And like, there's like before the first time you ever see it is just like in the background of it crawling along,
Oh, cool.
and I'm just like, fuck this. I was like, there's no way I'd be able to play this game.
I'm terrible. I think aliens are kind of sexy sometimes. Like, I thought the xenomorphs were very attractive when I was younger.
I feel that's probably somewhat intentional. Like
I think
knowing
so.
what Giga is like.
Well, sexualizing the other is very, very much like a thing. But yeah, I think aliens are cool. I kind of want them to win most of the time. Like,
Yeah.
see more alien things.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like the humans are always stupid for trying to go and capture one to use as samples.
Or like pick up the egg and look at it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Oh.
pick up this weird egg.
Have you watched Alien Covenant?
No, I've only watched
I haven't
Prometheus.
seen that. I want to see it.
It's dog shit.
No.
They don't look very
Oh,
good.
it's really bad. Like, because I didn't hate Prometheus.
I thought Prometheus was okay, just the ending was a bit dumb. They just
Yeah.
ran in a different direction.
Oh, I
It'd be
mean,
fine.
basically what they've done is they've ran with that ending and just
They
expanded
ran.
on it even further, and they've got it into their head that the best thing about the movies is what's his name playing the cyborg.
I literally was saying this to Nina the other day. I was like, what's that guy's name? He's
Bilbo.
Irish and German.
The Bilbo guy.
He plays Magneto in the newer X-Men films as well.
The milk guy from the first film. Well, they stab him and milk flows out of him. The milky Bilbo man.
No, Milky Bilbo, man.
He's in Bilbo in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, you're talking
he
about
said
Ian
cyborg.
Holm. Sorry,
He's talking about Ian Holm.
I'm talking about the cyborg in Prometheus.
Oh,
Sorry.
he's the like normal looking guy.
What's his name?
Yeah, I
He's
can't
like the
remember his name.
psychopathy normal guy. He's in
This is gonna
stuff like probably Marvel stuff or some shit.
He was in the Fox X-Men, the first class, like the rebrand. I'm just
Sorry,
gonna look it
yeah.
up.
Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender.
There we go.
Jesus Christ, that was doing my head in.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alien Covenant focuses on him, and
Yeah.
basically there's I mean, I don't really want to spoil the film for anybody who wants to watch it, but there's two versions of him, so two cyborgs, because obviously they're often modelled on the same. It's like in the movies with
Like
Bishop
Blade
is
Runner.
modelled after Wayland Yutani, like
Oh, right,
or
yeah,
Wayland,
yeah.
I should say. But yeah, no, it's just not a good film, and I'll just end it there. I mean, watch it and see what you think for yourself, but I didn't like it.
Fair enough.
Thought it was dog shit, mate. But I tell you what, I did like was Unmaker by LLNN.
That's
That
really
was a very
good.
good album.
I think it's much better than the Alien Covenant films, which much better, which is good. They said that they're huge fans of classic sci-fi, which figures video games. They're fascinated by how cinematic sound design can evoke certain emotions and let their imaginations unfold into abstract storytelling.
Yeah. Do you know what? I could get behind that, because I tell you one piece of music that I always love, and it's from a video game. Do you remember the game Dead Island?
No.
It was a zombie survival game. It had there was this really emotional trailer which shows like a family being basically turned into zombies.
Wow.
But the music created by a guy called Giles Lamb is absolutely stunning. Like, it is used so much in YouTube videos and edits of like emotional or sad scenes from TV shows. It's probably most known for being used as in Sean Bean's Death Reel compilation. Some just like compiled those deaths, and it's like and they use the music from that trailer, and it's just really good. And it's just like it's probably some of the most emotional music I've ever heard.
Wow.
But it's but when that's combined with metal and crushing riffs, then you've got kind of like a winning combination there. I mean, there's points on this album where it's just like, this just sounds so oppressively heavy and gargantuan. Like, it's just like proper like world crushing like riffs and sounds.
I really like that, and I think I like how they've curated it. The way that they've put every single bit. There's loads of field recordings. I like the attention of detail they've put into finding particular sounds to add to the tracks. Apparently, they used an actual blacksmith to get certain like, wow, my brain, certain segments of sound. Samples. Yeah, that's samples. Certain samples. They use a circular saw. They like modulated and then layered the sounds and like really treated everything, which I think creates this like really interesting. Like, the sound is quite alien. It sounds like a xenomorph's armor to me.
Yeah. It definitely makes me think of like the cosmic vastness of space, and like
Nice.
there's something malevolent like looming and coming to like destroy everything.
I feel like if you stepped onto the ship, you're on a mission, right?
Yeah.
And like you haven't heard from base in like 2 years, but you know what you got to do, and then you find the ship and you board the ship and it's empty and there's like cobwebs everywhere and like there's loads of like creaking, like weird sliding parts of this like weird looking ship, that looks like armor, and you're walking around and you're waiting for the thing to come out that you know is going to come out, and it's not going to be human.
That just sounds like South London at 3 a.m.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's my, like, I think I tried to sum up this album, and because post-metal is such a weird one because it's such a loose, like, genre classification. But, like, I feel like, me personally, I love Cult of Luna, right? But I know there's a lot of people out there who can't be fucked with Cult of Luna. Because
You've got to be quite patient with them.
exactly. But, like... But you're right. Your words were far more diplomatic than mine. But you have to be patient with them because, you know, the payoff takes a while.
Yeah.
And I had it written down that this was the sort of band, if you can't be asked to wait for the Cult of Luna riffs to hit, and you listen to this album, then this is for you. This is for short attention span people.
Cult of Luna is like you're there with like your pipe by the fire, with
Yeah.
like your Silmarillion in one hand and your tweed.
It's like Cult of Luna highlights.
Yeah, and then this is like there's like a guy who's just like in the gym. He's like Chad King
Yeah.
guy. He's like I don't know, just like doing some curls or something. And that's the music that we're playing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to listen to this when I go back to the gym next week. That's for sure.
It's
and
good
there's some
gym
tracks
music.
here. Like I love the track Division as well. It's so fucking catchy and heavy. But yeah, you know, it's just more. It's more digestible and it's more to the point within this particular subgenre. And yeah, I think they've just done a great job of just. And that's not to say that this album doesn't have ambience and atmosphere, because it does.
Absolutely,
It has it
yeah.
in spades. But they've done it in a way which doesn't take too long to get to the point.
Yeah. And I do like that.
And I like it. You know, it clocks in at about 39 minutes, and it's got a few instrumental tracks on here as well, which, you know, adds to that atmosphere. But like, as you said, like they've taken so much care with the sampling and a lot of the sounds in the back, and it's very much curated and composed in a way how you would imagine soundtracks are done, right? And it totally is evident in this album. Like even the track Interloper, I love that track as well. And that's almost got like an industrial kind of tinged riff, kind of similar to kind of Neurosis at times. And I just really dug that as well.
I totally hear the Neurosis. The Neurosis. Which album does that remind me of? The one with like something that has Sky in the title?
The sun that never sets.
A Sun That Never Sets, maybe. There's like I remember there's one Neurosis album with like quite specific like kind of metallic samples and stuff in there that I quite like.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
Yeah.
I can look it up quickly.
Neurosis.
Jamie, pull that shit up.
Let's see how much we have to Neurosis versus Psychosis. Neurosis and Human Growth.
Oh, do you know, I was thinking of their latest album, Fires Within Fires.
I haven't listened to that actually.
Damn, 2016. I thought that came out a bit later.
It feels like all these albums came out 2 years ago or something.
I feel like 2016 was last year. Honest to God, like 2016 to 2022, I felt like there's so many events that have happened in those years that I couldn't pinpoint.
It's genuinely upsetting. It's really, really upsetting
Yeah.
how long ago all that was. Like I have like things popping up on my phone from like 12 years ago in my memories, and it's just like me being a child, and it's upsetting. Like I don't understand what's happening anymore. But yeah, so I think that might sum it up for today.
I think so. And what? It's a very heavy week this week, isn't it? We've covered some pretty intense stuff, but what a great 3 albums. Up the horns.
Up the horns, brother.
Raise your horns, na 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 na. That's a Liam on and off song. I don't know the lyrics.
I would sing Man of War, but I can't do that to myself. I can't debase myself in that manner. But yeah, thank you for listening. What should we review next time?
Oh, we should have a look. I'm going to have a look and see what albums are coming out this year. I do want to say that Dying Fetus are releasing a new album at some point this year. So that I'll be looking forward to massively.
Nice.
For the more mainstream lovers, there is a new Slipknot album at some point.
Cool.
So they've got that to look forward to.
Botch are releasing an album. It's been officially confirmed.
Oh, that's like that tweet you liked the other day that just said botch. See, when I saw that, I thought you were referring to like wrestling botches. And I thought it was like another wrestling tweet. And I was like, oh, wait, hold on.
It's been confirmed by their label that they're
That's
releasing
exciting.
an album. So I'm very excited for that.
New botch album.
New
There you
Botch. So we will, I'm serious. We will be reviewing that, I'm sure.
go. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, speaking of botch, there's another band that I think's recording a new track, which I listened to a little bit back in the days. I'm sure Shem might have heard of them. Do you remember a Wilhelm Scream?
I know them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've released new music recently, or a new single.
Okay.
And it was only recently that I found out what a Wilhelm Scream was. It's the scream that's sampled in almost every film. It's become like a running joke in like Hollywood.
Oh,
It's like, "Ah!"
that. Nice
Yeah.
Wilhelm scream. 10 out of 10.
That sounded a bit like Ghost Bath there.
Well, yes. Viewers, listeners, thank you for listening to our tones, our dulcet tones.
And I
our
hope
20...
you've had a great start to the year.
Yes. I hope it's been wonderful. I hope you're using all 24 hours of your day in the best way.
Oh
you
my
can.
God.
Sorry, I had to drop that
Do
in.
you know, I've seen that everywhere. I had no idea what this was referencing, but then I found out what it was, and I'm like, okay.
It's infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's stupid.
We don't mean that. It's meritocracy is a lie. But anyway, thank you for listening. I hope to hear from you soon, guys. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, let us know what you think and what we should do next. Au revoir.
Until next time.